In November of 2023, the Swell Pod took a 10-day journey across 5 states, traveling 3,580 miles with one challenge in mind.
And that challenge was to interview 100 pleasantly rebellious humans to uncover deep truths about what it takes to create something that has never existed before, challenge the status quo, maybe even change the world.
This is the Kiln Road Trip, created and produced by the Swell Pod,
in partnership with Kiln Motor Camper Vans and sponsored by Taurus.
I'm Spencer McKeown.
And I'm Josh Taylor, and together we're the co-hosts of the Swell Pod and your guides on the Kiln Road Trip. Follow along on the journey.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, follow the Swell Pod on social media, and subscribe to your YouTube channel at, you guessed it, the Swell Pod.
This is interview 19 of the Kiln Road Trip, and today we're at Kiln Salt Lake City talking with Jeanette Padilla Vega. Jeanette is founder, president, CEO of the Food Justice Coalition, where you can empower our community and fight food insecurity by supporting the Food Justice Coalition. Your generosity allows us to continue providing nutritious meals and advocating for equitable food access, ultimately cultivating a fairer, healthier world. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoy today's episode.
So my name is Jeanette Padilla Vega. I am the founder, current CEO, and president of the Food Justice Coalition. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that aims to increase food security for Utahns experiencing hunger. Do you want me to go about myself specifically?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay, I can tell you a bit about myself as it relates to the organization. So I grew up in Mexico, and my family moved here when I was 5. I'm technically a U.S. citizen, but because I was born here, but my family moved here when I was 5. And when we moved here, we experienced about a bout of homelessness, and we also experienced food insecurity. Mm-hmm. And though I was 5 years old, those memories are really vivid in my mind. Cut to 2020, I arrived in Utah and was doing a lot of on the grounds organizing for civil rights, for social justice, which is kind of what my background is in, and noticed a big need in food security for people experiencing homelessness. So I asked for $400 from the community to help put on a Christmas dinner for 200 people experiencing homelessness. And what ended up happening is we received $4,200 in about 48 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. So with that money, we put on this Christmas dinner for 200 people, and we had all this money left over. So we made more food and we gave it out, and people kept sending us money. So we kept making food and handing it out. And that went on for about a year. And then we decided maybe it's time to form a nonprofit.
Wow.
And formalize this. So that's what we did.
So what was it that kind of sparked that first instance of it, where you were asking for the initial, what was it, $400?
$400.
Yeah, the initial 400.
Yeah, well, the idea.
And the idea, yeah.
So I created a fundraiser when I was 11, a car wash fundraiser for people in El Salvador who had experienced a magnitude 8 earthquake.
Yeah.
And feeling really, really helpless, I thought, well, what can I do? And my mom gave me the idea of what if we did a car wash? What if you organized that with your friends? And I was 11. But I said, yeah, why not? So I started kind of organizing and fundraising since I was young as a way to help. Because of my own lived experience with a lot of different things, with racism, with oppression, with, a lot of oppressive systems, and wanting to really create more equality and justice. And I know I was only 11, but, you feel these things very deeply when you grow up this way. And my parents always taught me that when I feel alone, or stuck or isolated, to turn to service in my community and to not think about myself, but think about how can I impact the lives of others? How can I help create goodness in my community? So that's always been the thought and the process. And when I got here, I moved here in 2020 with the pandemic, kind of unintentionally. And Christmas time came around, and I didn't have any family in town. I didn't have any long-term friends. It's just new people that I had met. And I was alone. I have a 6-year-old daughter who was with her dad for Christmas, and his family is here. But we're not too close. So I was alone for Christmas, and I thought, what makes me feel like I'm in community? What makes me feel connected to other people? And it was service. And it was helping people that have been through or going through the same things that I went through as a child. And so that's where the idea came from was, don't think about yourself. How do you serve others? And I had worked as a private chef previously, and I've been cooking since I was 7. So I thought I can make food at scale. And I like serving people, and I feel very safe in this community because I've worked with the homeless population since I was like 13, I want to say. Yeah. My dad would take us to Skid Row, which I didn't know was Skid Row. Yeah. And we would just like buy extra food and hand it out, and he would talk to them like they were friends. And I just assumed he knew them somehow. I didn't realize like that was Skid Row. So that was a very normal thing for us, was to operate in that way, to do community in that way. So that was the thought, and that's what we did, and put on this beautiful Christmas dinner, and everybody got a Christmas stocking full of supplies and like treats and a handwritten Christmas card, and we put out tables and linens, like real linens, to serve food in a dignified way. And I should mention all the food is plant-based, completely plant-based, in order to offer more nutrient density. And just like an elevated meal, we wanted it to be, I wanted the food to be pretty and to taste good and to be really nutrient dense. And so those are part of the pillars of the nonprofit now. Yeah.
And how long ago was that when you did that first Christmas?
That was Christmas of 2020.
Yeah, that's right. 3 years. Okay, great. And what are you doing now? Where has it gone, and where do you want it to go?
The organization has grown a lot. We're still tiny. Our staff is 2 people. It's myself and one other employee. But we do have about 600 volunteers that help us accomplish the work of 3 programs. So we have 3 programs. Our primary program is a direct relief program where we create these nutrient-dense meals, and we deliver them to people in the community experiencing food insecurity. We also have a free lunch program that's modeled after the Black Panther movement, their initiative of the Free Breakfast program. And then we also have a community enrichment and education program where we do a lot of teaching, a lot of workshops about the intersection of food and the environment and social justice. So we've gone from 1 program, which was handing out meals, to 3 programs, and impacting tens of thousands of people over the last almost 4 years. So we've grown quite a bit, even though we're still tiny. Just like every other nonprofit, funding is always a huge issue. So we're still, it's a battle for sure to keep the lights on and to do this work. But it's very fulfilling. So we rise to the challenge every month to try to keep the lights on.
That's amazing. And where do you see it going? Like, what's your vision for a few years from now?
That's a great question. So we have about, I think it's over 34 community partners now. So we partner with a lot of organizations, schools, private, corporations, on various different things across our 3 programs. And the reason we do that is because we're looking at the long term on how we can really exist and continue to be increasingly impactful 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, and long after we're gone, right? Food security is on the rise in America and around the globe. And it shows no signs of stopping, and there are factors outside of our nation that impact our food security here locally, nationally, and as well as like within the state locally. So I've been very intentional since the beginning in looking at long-term solutions and what we have to do and set up now, what our framework has to look like in order to be successful in the long term. So in order to do that, we identified that we have to build a strong coalition and have great partnerships with other organizations doing work that intersect with our own, that have shared values and a shared mission of improving health disparities and the improving social determinants of health. And that includes affordable housing. It includes access to healthcare. It includes, water rights, land sovereignty, all these issues that we're really seeing spoken about a lot more in recent years because of the exacerbation of climate change. So we sit kind of at the intersection of all these issues. So we work with our local government officials or state officials, with our legislature, on staying really informed on all these issues, on water use, on affordable housing, on food security. We, attend meetings at the local Department of Agriculture. We're kind of in a lot of different pockets because our goal is to improve food security and also do so while improving or creating justice for marginalized communities primarily. Our focus are communities of color, since they are the ones that disproportionately feel these effects more. So we engage with our government officials. We also engage with local leaders, local business owners, other nonprofit leaders, and the community at large. So one of our great partnerships includes the Black Physicians of Utah, which is another nonprofit that was created specifically to improve the health outcomes of the Black community. And they also work with the Latino community. So we've been working with them on a lot of educational pieces. We're also working with other medical professionals to begin to serve their patients with our nutrient-dense meals to improve their health outcomes. So now that we're, talking about long-term, we're really happy to see that on a federal level, there's a lot more conversation about using food as medicine. Where that wasn't really the case even 4 years ago. It wasn't very talked about. But the pandemic helped illuminate the lack of control that we really have of our own food systems. That power was very centralized, and we saw it really fall apart with the pandemic because logistics systems broke down. And then we realized, we're really dependent on like 3 major companies for all of our food nationally. And that made us realize that we need localized, resilient, and sustainable food systems. And that includes, that needs to include collaborating with people on the ground here, as well as nationally and between states, right? But it includes like our urban farmers and our small farmers. And
it's very comprehensive, this. Very visionary.
Yes.
A huge amount that you're trying to achieve.
Yes.
We might give you some rapid fire questions.
Go. What are you going to say? You got rapid fire, go for it.
Well, you don't need to explain it if you don't have the number, but how many people do you aim to impact? Like 10,000? Million? Is there a number?
Before we get into the rest of the episode, we want to thank the partners and sponsors who made the Kiln Road Trip possible. The Kiln Road Trip is brought to you by Kiln. Kiln is a boutique co-working and flex office community with 13 locations in 6 states across the West, dedicated to providing innovative workspaces that empower your team to thrive. Whether you're a solo visionary or an enterprise-level team of up to 100, Kiln transcends being merely a place to work. It's a hub for learning and connecting with like-minded professionals that will make you and your team love where you work.
And if you haven't stepped foot inside a kiln yet, you really need to. On this road trip, we visited every single location, and trust us when we say once you see these beautifully designed spaces, meet the talented team, and connect with fellow members, you won't want to work anywhere else.
Locations include Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Oregon, California, and Arizona. And they're growing too, with multiple locations set to open in 2024.
Yeah, so be sure to check out the kiln locations nearest you by booking a tour at kiln.com and answer Swell in the question, how did you hear about us? Once you complete the tour, you'll be entered into a competition where you could win a 1-year membership, their club membership at Kiln.
Yep, you heard that. That's kiln.com, book a tour, and be sure to mention Swell in the question, how did you hear about us?
The Kiln Road Trip is also brought to you by Motor Camper Vans, a luxury camper van rental company for iconic road trips. Their top-of-the-line vans are available at 7 locations located near America's best outdoor adventure destinations. They have consistently earned the highest customer ratings in the industry, making Motor Camper Vans your gateway to adventure without sacrificing on comfort or service.
That's true, and initially we wanted to take this journey in a 1960s VW bus, but thankfully we found Motor instead. With 3 van options, we took the Pop Top Classic, which sleeps 4 and is best for those who want to maximize floor space and storage. This was critical for us because it needed to sleep the entire crew, we needed space to edit, and we were traveling with large amounts of equipment, luggage, and other goodies that we picked up along the way.
And this van took us through all 3,580 miles of the trip. Super comfortable and sweet to drive.
And actually, Motor offers fully planned itineraries if you'd rather leave the planning to someone else.
Visit gomotora.com/swell. That's gomotora.com/swell.
This episode is also brought to you by Taurus. Taurus is leading the charge in home energy storage. Taurus makes it easy to achieve energy independence and a greener tomorrow. The Taurus station provides everything you need to generate clean power, efficiently store electricity, and easily manage your energy use.
And installing a Taurus station offers plenty of benefits, including save money on your electricity bill,
also ensure energy security with backup power during outages,
reduce carbon emissions with renewables.
You can also automate EV charging and HVAC systems with 100% renewables.
And enjoy unrivaled system monitoring and support.
If you like the sound of those benefits, get a quote to build your Taurus station in less than 30 seconds. Super easy at taurus.co. That's TORUS.co. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah.
You can just say yes or no, or tell me a number. Go for it.
Yeah, we aim to impact everyone that's experiencing food insecurity, at least in Utah.
Yeah.
We do work with other groups across the nation to help support their work and amplify their work, especially when our issues are so aligned. But our goal is to impact, everyone in Utah and to replicate this work. And
do we have a number of how many people
that
currently have that as a challenge?
It's about 300,000 people.
Right, got you.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So in Utah, our food insecurity here is 1 in every 11 adults is experiencing food insecurity, and 1 in 9 of those are children.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. And where did the plant-based kind of that's a really interesting concept of not just feeding people, but actually giving them ways of, being healthier with it. Where did that come from?
That's a complicated answer too, but I'll give you the short version.
You got 10 seconds to do it.
Okay, great, fantastic. That came from a lot of research and my training with the University of Cornell. They have a plant-based nutrition program that I completed about 7 years ago. Yeah. And it was within the same time frame that my 6-year-old was born. Right. So understanding all of that and how to raise a human child from birth as a vegan gave me the very thorough understanding that this is very achievable. And it's also, it's better for the environment and it's doable. So, and then there's a social justice component that also ties in with equality for people of color. So
that makes a lot of sense. What questions do you have, Josh? I know we're going to run out of time.
I think it's incredible what you're doing, and I guess you had 2 questions. One is, is it what do you need right now?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, for anybody that's listening or anybody that can help out, what do you need right now?
To put it simply, we need money. We need funding. It's really primarily 2 things. Funding is always a need. We focus a lot of our efforts, unfortunately, on trying to secure funding. And I would love to be able to focus that time on making the programs more impactful and reaching more people. But because my time has to be divided, we can't be as impactful. Yeah. And so the other thing is space. We need a facility where we can house all our programming. Right now it's kind of separated between 12 different locations. So we need just a central physical building where we can house all of our programming under one roof to be more efficient.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. And I'm sure we can maybe put a call out, with the episode and see what we can do. But the last question I think that we'll probably end on is, you mentioned building strong coalition, and I think you said 600 people that volunteer for you.
600, yeah.
Yeah, that is insane. really amazing. And, this is in line with, I think, one of the main questions that we like to ask in this podcast, which is, what does it take to take an idea and create a movement out of it? You had an idea back at 2020, right? And it grew into this thing where you've now had 600 people volunteer for you, creating a movement, changing the world. It's very rare that I don't feel weird saying that part of the question, changing the world, but that's what your ambition is, right? Like to get to that level and impact that many people. But what would you say to build a strong coalition, to be able to do what you've done? What advice could you give, or what does that take?
I think this might be kind of a different answer than what you typically get. I think it takes really knowing yourself and spending time being introspective and knowing what makes you tick, knowing why you do the things that you do, why you don't do the things that you do, what you really value, and where that comes from. I think that is what has helped me the most when I feel like I can't do it anymore. And, to give you a little bit more context, I'm a single mom. I'm new to Utah. I haven't had a great paying job. This is my best paying job ever, and it's not much. And for only this last year, it's been my full-time job. Previous to that, it was my something I did on the side while I retained a full-time job. And so, to work 80 hours, 100 hours a week while managing everything else, while having a kid, right? No family to support me, no one else to depend on. What gets you through that is your fundamental why that only you really know. Because everything I'm sharing with you, it could be untrue, but you can't lie to yourself. You have to live with the decisions that you make, and you have to have conviction in them. And at the end of the day, those it can all crumble if you're not solid in why you're doing what you're doing. And that comes from really knowing yourself profoundly. And I think we don't get very much time to do that, especially in this nation where we're like, go, 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 right? We don't get to stop and really be reflective and be introspective and think about, well, are these my opinions, or is this what I've been shaped into by family, friends, and the institutions around me?
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Kiln Road Trip. Be sure to follow along on the rest of the journey, and you can do that in two ways. One, subscribe to the podcast, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or maybe even watching on YouTube, and follow along on all of our social media platforms, whether you're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok, at the Swell Pod. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next episode.